Thank you all so much for joining us tonight here at the Carver Community Cultural Center. I'm Dr. George Williams. I chair the Carver Development Board proudly right here on the east side of San Antonio. Yes. On behalf of all of the members and also the board of directors, we welcome all of you to what we know now as the Carver. So a little history. The Carver, again, affectionately known, has been a vital and pretty much a cultural hub here in San Antonio with some very rich history that spans generations after generations. From its origins, yes, in the early 1900s, as the Colored Community House, it's transformed in 1929 as the colored branch of the San Antonio Library and Auditorium. This space was served as a cornerstone for civic and also cultural life, particularly within the San Antonio's African American community. Over the years, the Carver has hosted legendary artists right here on this stage, such as Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Duke Ellington, and Louis, y'all know Louis Armstrong, right? They all have had a significant part in our time here at the Carver. After being saved from demolition in the 1970s by the dedicated efforts of Ms. Nova Hill and local community members, the Carver was reborn. It was reborn as the Carver Community Cultural Center, continuing to honor its roots while expanding its role to celebrate diversity, cultures, and the arts. Today, the Carver remains an internationally recognized center for all of us, cultural and education included, with a deep commitment to community engagement. As we gather here tonight to witness this debate, we are reminded that the Carver's ongoing role in fostering dialogue, engagement, and civic participation, we are all proud to offer this space, and we welcome all of you for this opportunity and these community conversations. Yes. We're grateful to have each of you again here tonight. We look forward to the insightful discussion ahead of us. If you have any questions or want to join the Carver, if you're not a member, feel free to talk to any of the staff in the lobby area. The Carver, Carver.org. Look us up. We want this room to also be crowded during the concerts and everything else that we have. Once again, welcome to the Carver and enjoy the debate.
Can you hear me now? There we go. Hearing me is usually never a problem, but I want to thank you for being here tonight at this great debate. We called it the final round for a reason. Great fights always come down to the end with top contenders, and we're here tonight with the top contenders, and we appreciate them being here. We all know the importance demonstrated by this turnout tonight, by the candidates we have here. We'd like to begin by again thanking our friends at the Carver Community Cultural Center, our sponsors, Norma Denham and Associates, our LSA Alumni Association, Black Tie Affairs Catering for making this event possible. You know, tonight is more than just about politics. It's about the future of our city. Informed decisions are required here. There are 27 candidates in this race. The top 8 are with you here tonight. At the Greater Chamber, we work hard every day and every week to advocate on behalf of our business community. So you taking time to share your evening with us, to help hear the answers, to listen to the answers, truly makes a difference as we prepare to head for a May 3rd election. We have invited each of these candidates to be our next mayor, Next week, we will celebrate a State of the City with Mayor Ron Nirenberg, his final State of the City. We invite you to join us. There are QR codes available if you would like to attend that event on April 15th. We'd also like to send a special invitation to each one of these candidates to join us next week, so you'll have an opportunity to socialize with them at that State of the City event. We've invited each of these 8 candidates to join us as our guests at the event, so we hope you'll see them there. I'm putting pressure on the 8 of them that whoever makes it to the runoff will then join the Greater Chamber Executive Board in May, the top 2 runoff candidates to meet with our Executive Board, and then in June to meet with our Board of Investors as the winner of that runoff. This is important. You being here is important. I ask that you enjoy yourselves. Please behave yourself. Everybody take out your cell phone, turn it off, silence it. And right now, I'm going to hand it over to the editor of the San Antonio Report, Lee Munsell, who will guide us through the rules of the night.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Who's ready for a debate? Ready? All right. My name is Lee Munsell. I'm the editor-in-chief of the nonprofit San Antonio Report. We're so excited to co-host this debate, which we believe is the best, most rigorous stage you'll see these candidates take between now and Election Day. The candidates haven't seen the questions, and we set a high bar to participate in this debate, weighing poll data, fundraising, and endorsements to set the final lineup. At this snapshot in time, 14 days out from early voting, we believe these 8 debaters are the race's current leaders, and we plan to spend the next 90 minutes digging deep into how they think about the future of San Antonio. On our website, sanantonioreport.org, we've published an in-depth voter guide which has Q&As with all 27 candidates in this race, which is comprehensive and in-depth, as well as the 10 city council races and even school board races. So obviously the stage didn't have room for 27 podiums, but if you want to hear about the other candidates, you can see that all on our website. Some housekeeping, you guys seem like a great crowd, so I'm not too worried about this. But I will say there's a lot of you in the crowd tonight and only 8 candidates. So please be respectful of the rules of the debate. If you make any sort of outbursts, we will ask you to leave. That's just the rules. I'm sorry, it's how it has to go. We want to spend this time hearing from the candidates. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce government and politics reporter Andrea Drush. You know her byline by now, but she has an extensive background covering national, statewide, and local politics, and no one knows this race and these candidates better than she does. So Andrea, take it away.
Welcome to the final round. This is one of the last opportunities that the 8 candidates on this stage have to convince the hundreds of you out there that they should be San Antonio's next mayor. San Antonio hasn't had a new mayor in 8 years, and whoever takes over this job on June 15th will inherit a city at a crossroads. San Antonio faces persistent challenges ensuring that the entire community shares in its successes, and the future of some major initiatives started under Mayor Ron Nirenberg will be up to one of you on this stage to either see through or change course. At the same time, the city's relationships with state and federal leaders are being tested every day. We're going to kick off tonight's debate with a 1-minute and 30-second opening statement from each candidate. From there, when the moderator asks you a question, you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond, and if rebuttals are needed, they'll be awarded at my discretion. Quick note for the crowd, this debate is exactly 90 minutes. Disruptions from the audience will take away from candidates' time to make their case to voters, so please keep your applause short and respectful. Candidates, are you ready? All right, let's kick it off with opening statements. The order was drawn backstage before the debate, and we're going to start off with Beto Altamirano.
San Antonio, how are we doing tonight? My name is Beto Altamirano, and I believe in San Antonio. I believe in the power, the potential, and the values of every San Antonio. I'm a South Texas native, and I'm the son of immigrants. My dad, an HVAC technician. My mother, a school teacher. I learned the value of hard work through them. I went on to study government at UT Austin and got my MPA at the Harvard Kennedy School. And over 10 years ago, I chose San Antonio to start my family, my business, and build community. 4 weeks ago, my wife Anna and I, we welcomed our first child, Andre. And he was born March 11, which is 311. And I say that because my company, Iris, developed the 311 San Antonio mobile platform. And it has impacted the lives of thousands of people in San Antonio. I serve on the Port San Antonio board and also work at the Alamo area MPO. I'm committed to this city. What I'm not is a politician. And being mayor is not a stepping stone or a consolation prize. It's a commitment to building a better future for our city, making sure that our children and grandchildren choose San Antonio first. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Courage. Many of you know me, and I recognize a lot of familiar faces out there. I'm here today, though, not to go ahead and convince you to vote for me for mayor, as much as I'm here to convince you not to vote for somebody who shouldn't be mayor. You know, just because you invent a new toy, or you serve on every board or commission the state has to offer, or you went off to Washington and served on a commission, and then a year and a half later you quit because it was too hard to work, that does not make you qualified to be the next mayor of San Antonio. To be qualified to be this mayor, you need to have been working in this community for years, with your feet on the ground and listening to this community. You need to understand what the real needs and concerns are, not by just floating around and having town hall meetings, but by actually working with city departments, working with communities, understanding how the city works, how it should work, and how you can make it work better. So you need to make sure, as you think about all these candidates and what they have to say, and about all the great things they may think they have to offer, what do they really know about city government, about San Antonio, and about you? And I think you need to give that the most consideration while you're here tonight. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rolando Pablos. Thanks everyone for being here, taking time out of your day. You know, I've been in San Antonio for 40 years and I have served in a lot of boards and commissions. I've served at the state level. I've run 3 state agencies. But look, San Antonio is a place where we choose to live. I'm just like you. I just want a better life. I want to improve my lot in life. You know, I'm one generation removed from a tenant farmer in Mexico. My parents brought us here from Mexico to seek a better life, to get an education. And I'm glad to say I didn't let them down. I've earned 5 university degrees, and it wasn't easy. I put myself through college here at St. Mary's. I went to UTSA for my MBA, and I went back to St. Mary's for law school. It hasn't been easy. You know, I worked in restaurants, washed dishes, served tables. Actually, that's how I met Laura, my wife. You know, I was serving tables, and they sat her in my section, and I fell in love. It was great. And we've been married for 30 years. I'm a family man. We have 4 wonderful children. 2 of them don't live here. They live out of town. We're trying to convince them to move back here. And I want to make sure that we provide them a better life than my parents provided us. And really, that's what I want to do. The reason I get up every day is so that we can go and fight traffic and work our butts off so that we can provide our kids a better life, great schools, safe homes. And that's what I want for San Antonio. I want San Antonio to be that city that allows us to have that kind of a lifestyle. And we can do it. We have a lot going for us. We live in the nation's best economy. Texas is a great economy. As
Can you finish the
Secretary of
thought?
State.
Sorry, we've hit the minute 30.
Oh, sorry. Was that it right there?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Anyway, now I know where the clock is. Thanks.
Hi guys, my name is Manny Pelaez. I've been in San Antonio for a long, long time, and I have for a long time been waiting for a mayor who wants what I want, who wants to live in the safest city in the United States, who wants to live in the strongest and the smartest city in the United States, who wants this city to be the most authentic and most compassionate city in the entire country. And I want every other city to be green with envy as to how we accomplish that. And then I want them to copy us. And I want to export the San Antonio way of solving problems. Let me tell you why I ran for mayor. We all knew who the 8 folks who were going to run for office were going to be. We knew that. We knew about a year out. And I've been listening to the platforms, and quite honestly, I wasn't inspired. My kids deserve inspiration and a mayor who wants to achieve the most, the best, the safest. So I threw my hat in the ring. I was the very first person Toyota Motor Manufacturing ever hired in this city. At Toyota, they taught us, do something, and if you're gonna do it, make sure you're the best at it. Since then, I was the chairman of Brooks City Base. And for those of you, how many of you have been to Brooks, by the way? I think you'll agree with me, it's a pretty amazing place. I believe that what we did at Brooks, we can do in all of San Antonio. And it won't take one person. It'll take all of you, because I believe in the power of the swarm. And each and every one of you, together with me, we're gonna accomplish exactly what we're gonna talk about tonight.
Good evening, and thank you to our hosts. Thank you all for making time today. My name is Gina Ortiz-Jones. I grew up on the far west side of San Antonio. I'm a proud first-generation American. My mom always taught my sister and I that we were very lucky, not smart. We were very lucky to have been born in this very special country, and we'd have to give back. That's why I was honored to serve in the Air Force in a number of ways, and my sister proudly serves in the Navy to this day. A lot of the opportunities that I had to grow up healthy, get an education, and serve our country started right here. I'm a proud John Jay graduate. It was an Air Force ROTC scholarship that took me to Boston University. And I was proud to serve our country again in a number of ways. I most recently served as the Undersecretary of the Air Force, led 600,000 people, managed a $173 billion budget. I look forward to bringing my service and leadership and service to my hometown. I think it's also really important that we tackle some of our city's challenges with urgency, which is why on my website I've listed the things I want to work on in the first 100 days. Because the reality is, even if we had a different president, different governor, we still have over half the kids in our community not reading at level, math skills are not at level. We'd still have 95,000 folks housing insecure housing insecure in our community. And we would still, if we were on 37 at 5 p.m., be questioning our life choices, right? So it's really important that we tackle these things. We've got the leadership, we've got the resources, we've got the talent, and I look forward to bringing the leadership. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I am Melissa Cabello Haverda. I was born on the west side of San Antonio. I was raised on the west side of San Antonio, and I'm proudly raising my 3 children on the west side of San Antonio. Now, if you ask my kids about me, they're gonna tell you I'm a little bit of an overprotective mom, but I make no apologies for that. When I love something, it's my nature. When I love it, I protect it. And I love San Antonio, and I wanna protect us, I wanna protect our future. You're gonna hear a lot of platitudes up here today. What you're gonna hear from our friend Manny Pelaez, El Chancla, the flip-flopper on the issues, is that he spent $300,000 of his own money to buy your vote. Ms. Jones is gonna tell you that there's no time to waste, and I absolutely agree with you. There's no time to waste on any candidate that doesn't have any city experience, that doesn't know the first thing about running a city. I'm not out here chasing titles. I've been in San Antonio. I've invested in San Antonio. I love San Antonio. I've been here, I've done the work, and I'm gonna talk today. I invite you to really listen to us. You're gonna hear platitudes and promises. From me, you're gonna hear real plans, real solutions, things I've done, things I'm going to do. I've been told all my life what I can and can't do, and every single time I've proved them wrong. San Antonio, they're telling us it's $1 million to buy our city. You and I know better. Our city's not for sale, and we're gonna prove them wrong. Thank you.
All right, let's finish up our opening statements, and then if we need to name check, go back for 30-second rebuttals after that, but let's continue our opening statements.
Okay. Howdy, I'm Clayton Perry. Let me give you a little bit of my background. I was born and raised here in Texas in Giddings. Went to A&M. Yes, I'm an Aggie, and I was in the Aggie band. All right, I hear some whoops out there. That's great. I then went into the Air Force as a civil engineer. Spent 21 years in the Air Force and retired as a lieutenant colonel. I then went to work for a large engineering construction firm and was a vice president doing work all over the world. Then took a little bit of time off and I ran for city council in 2017. Let me back up. How did I get to that point? Well, I got here to San Antonio in 1991. And with me, I was a new single parent and I had 3 little kids in elementary school. And actually, that is my crowning achievement, getting those 3 kids all the way through A&M. They're all successful, and now I got 5 little grandkids. So that's my best achievement. But let me tell you a little bit more. When I got here in 91, I joined my HOA board and was elected to be the president then. And then I got invited to, and was elected to be on the board of the Northeast Neighborhood Alliance, which is 90 different organizations up on the Northeast side. I then served on a number of boards and commissions here in San Antonio. And then I was elected to city council in 17, 19, and 21. So all of that experience, grassroots experience that taught me about San Antonio, got me involved, and ready to run for mayor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Councilwoman Dr. Adriana Rocha Garcia, and shout out to my LSA 300 classmates that I see in here. Thank you for hosting us. I was born in zip code 78207. You might be familiar with it because it's one of the most high poverty areas in the city of San Antonio. Although we're high in poverty still, we are also very high on culture, and we bring culture to San Antonio. We got to move to the southwest part of San Antonio to zip code 78242 when I was 3 years old. My parents had been evicted. We had a brief stint over at on the east side, but my dad couldn't let his little girl and his wife be alone where there was a lot of drugs and criminal activity. So we moved in with my cousins while we saved money to buy a house. 78242 became the most crime-impoverished area in the city of San Antonio. Indian Creek, you all might remember that when you hear of the creek. Ever since then, I have worked really hard. I come from a family my parents only went to 1st and 2nd grade in Mexico. They still only speak Spanish. Yet by the 3rd grade, I was in GT. By Southwest High School, I was the president of the National Honor Society, I was the president of the Student Council, and I was a dance team captain. I did that because I worked hard. I will continue to work hard for you. I earned my place on the city council 3 terms. I have worked very, very hard for San Antonio. I look forward to telling you a little bit more about my achievements, but thank you for being here today.
All right. It felt unfair to interrupt the opening statements, but Mr. Pelaez, if you'd like 30 seconds to respond to the campaign finance points that were brought up here.
Yeah, look, this is a job interview. I thought we were here to try to motivate and inspire and share a vision with you guys. I think we all deserve better than taking swipes at each other. I'll be honest with you. I like every single one of these people on this stage. I know all of you to be good parents, good San Antonians, great neighbors, and every one of them has put their chin out there and asked you to please consider them. And I respect every one of these people, and I'm not going to punch down. Thank you.
We'd like to keep the rebuttals if you are awarded one about the topic that was brought up. So, and Ms. Ortiz-Jones, would you like to respond to what was said about you? Okay, great. Moving on to our first question of the night. We are here tonight on the east side, home of the San Antonio Spurs, at least for now. Over the years, the east side has become a microcosm of the challenges that San Antonio faces when trying to develop its many underserved communities. Public dollars spent moving the Spurs here in 2002 were supposed to bring economic development, and it didn't happen. Now local leaders are again considering what would bring meaningful development to this area, and the jury is still out. We're going to get back to Project Marvel later tonight, but I want to ask you a different question first, which is, as mayor, how will you ensure that historically underdeveloped communities don't stay that way forever? Where does the money come from if private development doesn't happen naturally? Let's start with Ms. Ortiz-Jones. Can you take that one first?
Well, I think, so I actually attended, I think it is important though to understand the concerns that people have raised around these generational investments. I attended the town hall that Tommy Calvert had, where those folks, it was the second one, where those folks were rightly, I think the proper term is pissed off about the lack of development in their community. Again, the promise, and Nelson Wolf shared this, the promise with the deal of publicly financing the AT&T Center was that 20% of profits would come back, right? And he said, ask me how much have we got over 20 years? 0. It would have been really helpful to know that in any of the 20 years we were getting shorted. So I think part of making sure we're making smart investments in our community starts with making sure that we have a good deal at the outset. We understand what is coming back into the community as a result of those investments. And that's, yes, we are prioritizing things like I have mentioned. One of the things I think that is so important in our community, early childhood, quality early childhood education. That's why in the first 100 days, I want to work with the city staff. Hey, show me how many kids, how much talent are we leaving on the table as a result of not fully funding pre-K for SA in our community, and show me the bill. What is the bill for that? Because if you tell me we've got more resources for another publicly financed sports venue, then I know we have some money for some kids, right? The infrastructure that is most important to our long-term economic strength.
Mr. Courage? Yes.
I think that most of us who've lived in San Antonio understand that for many, many years, much of the city was ignored. A lot of the city was not addressed the way it should have been. And as a council member for the last 8 years in District 9, many people in my community would always ask, why does District 9 put so much tax value financing into the city, but we don't get as much back? They seem to believe that for every dollar you put in, you should get $1's worth back. And I tried to help people in my community understand that the city and its budget is a moral document. And that document needs to make up for the errors in judgment from previous council members. What we need to do is we need to put our money where the greatest needs are. And the greatest needs aren't in District 9, or District 8, or District 10, maybe in several other districts, but certainly in many other districts. That should be what the next mayor looks at in leading this city, is making sure that we address the generational poverty, the homelessness, the problems with not having affordable housing, and the need for improving streets and drainage in areas that were ignored for 50 years. Now, I'll have to say, my council friends and I have been working to go ahead and meet those needs. But we have to educate everybody in the community so they understand what we're doing and why it's important.
Mr. Pelaez?
8 years ago, my friend, your mayor, my mayor, Ron Nierenberg, started a conversation about compassion. And we do compassion here with a capital C. And right out of the gate, what we adopted, and I'm happy to say, John, you were a partner in that, Clayton, you were a partner in that, was the creation of something called an equity budget, where those neighborhoods and those council members who had great streets, whose earth doesn't shift under their grounds because of clay, where we said, you know what, you're right. We ought to send that money where it's needed most, where the pain is being felt. And I had to go to my community and explain, I'm doing this. I know you want your slice of the pizza to be equivalent to everybody else's slice of the pizza, but we've committed a crime over the past 100 years in this city that needs to be addressed, and that is the crime of disinvestment and redlining. And wherever you find that disinvestment in infrastructure, you're also going to find that there's big red spots on the heat map for illiteracy, for bad nutrition, for terrible health outcomes, for low education, for terrible economic achievement. And so I do believe that that's a conversation that the next mayor needs to continue having, and I will not abandon the compassion agenda that Ron Nierenberg brought to San Antonio.
Ms. Cabello-Haverda, you can take that one next.
Thank you. Compassion and equity are buzzwords that are thrown around a lot. And I can't say that working now for my beautiful city, for my hometown, that I always see compassion and equity. I've heard people up here say that it's easy to be homeless. It's easy to live on the street. I've heard them say that small businesses don't need training wheels. So we can talk about those words all day, every day, but it's real investment in equity that we need to see. 8 years ago, the equity budget, about 8 years ago, the equity budget was put into place. I was elected in 2019. I don't see that equity budget. We need to be more intentional about it. Every year, every council member gets about $1 million to spend on projects in their district. I'm in District 6, which is Edgewood, all the way over to Alamo Ranch. I have plenty of money to fill all the potholes and fix our sidewalks. Now go to the east side, go to the inner west side, go to the south side, and there's a lot more need there. So when I'm block walking in those areas and they say I need a pothole, I go and talk to their council person, they don't have enough money. That's not real equity. So taking that equity and putting it into practice, not just talking about it, is actually what we need. Now, I do feel really strongly about education. Education was my family's trajectory out of poverty in 2 generations. None of my grandparents graduated from high school. I was the first in my family to graduate college and have a doctorate. That happened in 2 generations because of education. So focusing on not just pre-K, because that's been there, but focusing on supporting our school system. Now, some people will say that we don't have a lot to do with the school system, but we can. We have absolutely some influence on it. And I have a safety plan, I have sidewalks to school plan, and talking with the superintendents, including an education liaison to talk with all the superintendents to find out how the city can help them, is the way we move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Altamirano?
Look, generational disinvestment is alive in many parts of town. My campaign HQ is on the west side, so I understand the challenges that the west side is experiencing. But we're on the east side. The east side is also experiencing those challenges. And when we talk about addressing that issue, we have to look at the percentage of people living under poverty in San Antonio. And that's 18%. of San Antonians live under poverty. And that's also correlated with the lack of access to internet, which is about 17% of the digital divide that is alive in San Antonio. When we talk about investment in San Antonio, we gotta look at infrastructure, for example. Investing in sidewalks, investing in bridges, in roads. The broken window, it's alive. And when we talk about economic development, let's prioritize childcare. Let's prioritize after-school care, getting kids off the streets, getting them to good paying jobs. Let's prioritize workforce development and looking at the emerging trends in our economy. The low-hanging fruit, like cybersecurity, advanced manufacturing, and training for those modern jobs in this new economy. When we talk about infrastructure development, we talk about development itself. Private development can happen also in many parts of town, but the red tape at the city level is incredible. And the city gets in the way of a lot of possibilities across the city of San Antonio. We can do better.
Ms. Rocha Garcia.
Thank you. We definitely need to continue the equity budget. We have to take a look at what has been working, what hasn't been working. But I propose that we have to focus in on the key issues that are important and relevant to communities like the East Side that have been left out. And that includes access to education, access to housing, and access to health care. If you think about it, when you feel sick, where do you want to go? Home. The reality is that a lot of our residents don't have a home, don't have a place to go rest when they feel sick. As a matter of fact, more than 7,000 children are in your schools right now with your little brothers, little sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews, godkids, and they do not have a home to go home to. When we think about the new face of someone experiencing homelessness, it's actually a family. And we need to continue to invest in housing so that they are able to come home and feel sick. And get better. But beyond that, the educational component is important. I plan to bring education back to City Hall in the form that there hasn't been a true education committee at City Hall since Julian Castro was mayor. It merged into education and workforce and then eventually into workforce and development. We left the education out. The reason that I'm here to you is because people like you voted for a chance for me to succeed. You all voted for Mayor Henry Cisneros, who voted for the San Antonio Education Partnership to be created. I am a product of the partnership. I will continue to invest in education always to uplift communities like the East Side.
Mr. Perry.
Let me tell you, we have a spending problem here in town, and it's spent in the wrong areas. And yes, historically, we've neglected certain areas here in the city. We need to turn that around. But how are we going to do that? We need somebody that has experience in putting together budgets and looking at budgets on where the money needs to go. Year after year, we don't put it in what people are asking for. What are you asking for? You're asking for public safety. You're asking for better streets, drainage, sidewalks. You're hoping that the tax rate goes down. Those are all things that you're asking for, and year after year, this city council does not do that. Why is that? Because there's shiny things out there, folks. There's shiny things that they want to go after. And I was part of that. But I fought as much as I could to keep putting more money into our infrastructure. It's crumbling beneath our feet, folks. We got to put that investment into it. In fact, today, if you look at it, we've got a $4 billion bill out there. That's deferred maintenance and repair for our infrastructure, the city's infrastructure, roads, streets, drainage, parks, buildings. All of that is out there, and that's a big bill, folks. And we got to deal with it here one of these days. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with some really big problems. Thank you.
Mr. Pablos.
Look, I think it's time to address the elephant in the room, and that's pervasive poverty, generational poverty, systemic poverty. You know, 60 years ago, the poverty rate in San Antonio was 18%. And like Beto said, it's 18% today. Nothing has changed. Broken promises. We haven't moved the needle. And let me tell you why this is a problem. You know, poverty is the root condition that drives all these problems we have today. Crime, homelessness, all of our public health problems that we have, educational gaps. We have to do better. And look, I don't think there's anybody on this stage that can tell you that they can fix all those things without having a plan to address poverty. And my plan is very simple. It's aggressive economic development. It's making sure that we have quality education and that we have fiscal responsibility, which means that we'll invest in our people, we will connect them with opportunities, and we will remove those barriers that have been getting in the way all along. It's time that we do that, and I hope we can do this together. Because look, I've worked on this east side for years. I worked with developers trying to redevelop the Friedrich and the ice house over there, the cold storage. I brought the University of Houston, Conrad Hilton College right here to St. Paul Square. But the problem is, sometimes the city gets in the way, and we can't allow to do that. We gotta be able to cooperate and work with those trying to invest in our communities.
Okay, thank you all for your answers to that question. San Antonio's city manager is not only among the highest paid in Texas, but also the most powerful, and Eric Walsh was even recently given council's permission to sign off on some major contracts by himself. At candidate forums across the city this year, one of the prevailing sentiments has been that major decisions are being made and projects are being signed off on without public input, and the city council is either not aware or not interested in taking accountability for it. Examples include the migrant resource facilities on San Pedro and at the airport, and of course, Project Marvel, where developers recently got a public information session before any members of the public. How would you, as mayor, make sure that the first time that the public hears about something, it hasn't already been decided? And do you think that San Antonio needs to restore confidence in the idea that city leaders work for the people? Let's start off with the four of you who are on the city council first, starting with Mr. Pelaez.
Last week, Eric Walsh and Lori Houston, I dragged them up to the north side of San Antonio to have the very first and only town hall that a city council person has put together so that we can have every question answered about Project Marvel. So we can debunk myths, so people can learn new things they didn't know that they're not necessarily hearing from our friends at San Antonio Report and the Express News. And it was one of the most valuable experiences that they've ever had. You know why I say that? Because they literally walked out and said, this is one of the most valuable experiences I've ever had. That's how we do things the right way. We go to where they are. And what I had was an entire north side of San Antonio saying, what the heck is going on downtown? I don't want to drive downtown at 5 p.m. on Wednesday to battle traffic so that you guys can hear me for only 3 minutes. We have to go to them, which is why, Andrea, what I will do the first day is we are going to cancel those Wednesday meetings where the same 4 dudes show up to talk about helicopters over their house and, you know, radios in their head. And that's the only people who show up on Wednesdays. We are taking those meetings to every city council district, and we will rotate throughout the year so that every council person has a responsibility to fill the room. And we'll do it here at Carver. And we'll do it on the north side at UTSA. And we'll do it on the west side at Our Lady of the Lake, etc. But if we don't come to you to seek your voices, then think about the amount of hubris that is required to say, hey, you guys aren't showing up, so we're just going to continue doing what we're doing, right? And at the end of the day...
Can you finish the thought?
At the end of the day, City Hall is yours. Thank you.
I would like to say that I was also shocked leaving that meeting at how much we learned in that and surprised at why that was the first time we were hearing a lot of those things from city leaders in a District 8 meeting. Ms. Rocha Garcia.
One of the things that we continue to do is make sure that Eric has liaisons that can call us. If he can't get to us, he needs to have someone that can call us and let us know exactly what's going on before we read about it in the print media. One of the things that I've grown frustrated about, especially recently, and there's been 3 items that had happened even within the last week that I've learned more about, that I feel that I could have been better prepared for, was because the team just didn't come out and let us know about it. The most frustrating one is Guajolote Ranch. And when we think about what's going on with the water contamination, the fact that there are some sealed information that someone from Metro Health decided to share that wasn't supposed to share, but that the city council didn't know about it until we learn about it in the newspaper, is something that continues to frustrate me. One of the things that I do is immediately pick up the phone, call, ask what is going on. But the reality is that the city manager needs to empower his assistant city managers, his deputy city managers, to be able to call us as well and read us into the things that are coming up. We learn about things a lot of times when we hear news stories, and then we're scrambling to figure out who has the truth, who has all of the pieces of information, or we're jumping to conclusions. So that's one of the first things that I would do to address it. It's in his job description, and it's in his evaluation.
Ms. Cabello-Haverda?
Thank you. You solve that problem by being a mayor that includes all of the city council. For us to read things first in the paper, for us to go out into community and trying to figure out what's going on, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work for our city. So as mayor, the first thing, if we had gone back in time and I was mayor, the first thing I would do when this came to my door is start talking to all the council members. Not just because of they're council members, but because we represent 150,000 or so people behind us. And it's this community that needs to know what's going on. And you start there. You can have town halls all over the city, but people can't always come to us. I'm knocking on doors, I'm making phone calls, I'm going to senior centers. People are working, they're growing their families. You can't expect people to come to your town hall. So we have to be where they are, including parks, the places they work, the places they play. So that's what I've been doing. From the very beginning, talking to community. That's where we always should have started. I bet you if you go and talk to the East Side, they never had a town hall, they never had somebody knock on their door and say, hey, what do you think about us taking the Spurs out of the East Side? And there's already all these plans for the East Side. Again, I don't think anybody's knocked on an East Sider's door to understand what they want to see in their own neighborhood. I had this experience with the Missions. They're going to move the Missions out of Nelson Wolff Stadium. That's my ball field in District 6. And from the early days, what I said is, look, we hired a bus and we took all of these the investors all over Edgewood because that's the community that they were going to affect. So after they understood, they heard the stories from people that it was going to affect the actual community, we made some changes, and then we moved forward from there. And it was always transparent. It was always with community-minded. It was always, even with the paper, well, it was always transparent. That's what I'm getting at. Thank you.
Mr. Courage.
People may not believe what I have to say sometimes. They may be skeptical, but I'll tell you this. I trust the city manager, Eric Walsh. I trust him with my life. He's never lied to me. He's always been forthcoming. When I've gone and asked him a question, he's given me an answer or helped me find the answer. Now, I don't know about other council members and why they don't think they're getting the answers that they should get. My door on the 4th floor of City Hall is open. It's always open. You can walk up there any day and you can just walk in my office to talk with me and talk with me about what a concern is. And I, in turn, am always willing to talk to the community and explain things to them. When you go back and look at Project Marvel was first explained to this council very clearly. We were going to improve the convention center, we're going to improve the Alamo Dome, we're going to make improvements to Hemisphere Park. There might be a new hotel built across the street, but that was a private venture. And that sounded great to all of us. Now, the Spurs want to move into part of the area that can be incorporated into that. That's a different ballgame. But as far as, I think, hearing from the city staff and getting the real information, it's just a matter of listening or asking questions. And then going back into your neighborhood and helping them understand. Don't just because they don't trust you, hide from the issue. Tell them what you know.
Let's hear from our former council member, Mr. Perry.
Andrea, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of power, and the most powerful person in San Antonio is the city manager. I was on the board when we hired Eric. Great guy, but it's not about the person. It's about the position and what authorities we have given that position. A lot of this stuff happened from that last charter change. Everybody remember all those items that got passed with flying colors? Well, now we're understanding what's coming from that. That should not be happening. This should be a transparent operation here at the city. And let me tell you, this thing that's happening right now with things getting approved without the council even knowing about it, that's got to change. That has to change, because if we don't know about it, how can we get the information out to you? And this Project Marvel, it keeps being mentioned. That's a prime example where all of a sudden, here's these pretty pictures. You know, where'd that come from? Who's been working on it? Who paid for it? All of those questions. And That is because we don't have a good checks and balances right now on the positions, the city staff. And that's where we need to refocus and make sure that they understand what the transparency is to us as council members and to the citizens that we're expecting to pay for things here in San Antonio. So that, my friends, that's where we got to concentrate to make sure that we are transparent going into the future. Thank you.
I'm very curious to hear about the non-council members' take on this. Let's start with Gina Ortiz-Jones.
A long time ago that transparency leads to accountability, and accountability leads to trust. I think it's really important that folks have an understanding of why their taxpayer dollars are being invested in the way that they are. I think it is really, frankly, an affront to the people's trust that a potential multi-billion-dollar deal was under wraps for over a year and a half due to non-disclosure agreements. I worked in the intelligence community. I know there's a way in which you protect information, but then ensure that decision makers, in this case taxpayers and voters, have access to that when it's appropriate. Because again, I mean, on my first 100 days, how would I address this? First 100 days, let's look at that non-disclosure agreement policy, right? Let's make sure, again, this is something that allows us to conduct city business, but again, brings people in appropriately. Because what it does is beg the question, okay, what else are y'all working on back there? Right? Potential multi-billion-dollar deal over a year and a half. When are y'all going to let us know about this? Because again, folks can look at history with how, in particular, publicly financed deals have gone. Right? The promise with the Alamo Dome, we'd be competitive for an NFL team. The Brahmas are cool. That is not an NFL team. Right? And I just mentioned earlier the short that we got for 20 years. So it's really important that we don't have, again, the tail wagging the dog, and it starts with transparency.
And Mr. Altamirano?
Public involvement matters. Public policy works best when people are part of the public policy process. And when I think about that, I think about the listening tour that my campaign did for almost 5 months. We visited every corner of the city. We held over 100 events, meetings, and we heard directly from people about the issues that they care about. People want to be heard. And at the city level, at the dais, when we think about the mayor and the council members, they need to apply the pressure of the community of San Antonio on the city manager to get things done, to be heard, and to be part of the process. I'm also calling for a performance review, an annual performance review of the city manager. And that's okay. Look, as a CEO in my organization, I get a performance review every year. And it's to look at where we can improve as a city government. It's where we can be more transparent. We can be more collaborative with the people of San Antonio. But ultimately, it comes down to us, the community of San Antonio, being heard, and we got to go out there to the community. We got to hear the community, and we got to include their voices in the public policy-making process.
All right, on to our next question. This is a nonpartisan mayoral race, but San Antonio... I'm so sorry. Mr. Pablos, we forgot you.
That's okay. I almost got a pass. Look, the government works for the people, not the other way around. We cannot have unelected bureaucrats creating policy and executing it. We have to make sure that the board of directors, which is the city council, the chairman of the board, who is the mayor, represent the people. And Eric is the CEO. He reports to the board, okay? And this is the way it's supposed to work. I'm all about accountability. I'm all about results. I want to see what the results are. And from the outside looking in, when we look at our crime situation, our streets crumbling, our traffic situation, homelessness, there's all these things that don't really register with me with respect to results. So I want to make sure that we have results. So I'm proposing a sunset commission for the city of San Antonio the way we have it for the state. It's an accountability standard, an accountability measure where we can go in and analyze every department, including the city manager's office. We can take a look at where all the money is being spent so that we can take a look at boards, commissions, programs, and make sure that they're fulfilling their objective. And if they're doing a great job, maybe they need additional capital. But we have to make sure we have accountability standards, and it's got to start with the man at the top, and that's our city manager.
Thank you so much for those responses. All right, Our next question is about politics. This is oh, sorry, are we still missing somebody? No, he answered. Okay.
I'm happy to go again.
No. Okay, we all know that this is a nonpartisan mayor's race, but San Antonio is a blue city in a red state, and the next leader will be taking over at the same time. We are also ushering in a Republican presidential administration in D.C. In the past 8 years, San Antonio has been a foil to GOP leaders at all levels through its fight to keep Chick-fil-A out of the airport, its migrant aid, its leading role fighting Texas's new Death Star law, and most recently, a $100,000 fund to help residents travel out of state for abortions. Going forward, how would you approach San Antonio's relationships with state and federal leaders? When should the city stand up against policies that are at odds with the majority of residents' values, and how should the city go about it? Melissa Cabello-Haverda, you were leading the charge on the abortion fund, so why don't you take this one first?
Thank you. So I think there, under no circumstances are we to ever compromise the values of our city. And not only the values, but more than that, we should always protect our city. You're never going to hear me say that's not my job. Just because I'm a mayor, I'm a city council person, does not mean that I'm not going to go against the state, I'm not going to go against the federal government if they're damaging my community. It's always my job to protect my community. Now, all of those things that you talked about, the overwhelming majority of our city wanted these things. And more than that, we needed them. When we had migrants coming to San Antonio and wandering all over the city, we needed to make sure they were safe. We put them in a safe place. And we did that. And now we're getting looked at by the federal government saying we did something wrong, we did something illegal. You know what? I'm okay with that because we took care of not only the migrants coming through our city, we took care of San Antonians. And we get so much criticism for that. Now, the $100,000 for travel for abortion care. I believe that women have a right to have an abortion if it endangers their lives, if there's rape, if there's incest. Thank you, that deserves applause, thank you. But more than that, my community believes that. And so, you know what, sometimes I can be a little bitchy about it. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna fight all day, every day. We're talking all up here about transparency and accountability, but you have seen me do it. You have seen me fight for the values of this city, and you've seen me protect our community. You've seen me stand on the City Hall steps and fight for a fair fire contract for our firefighters, and all of that got done. By the way, sometimes you have to push a little harder, but in the interim, I was able to get all of the council consensus to get able to get it done. Thank you.
Mr. Pablos, you might be one of the only candidates on the stage with something nice to say about our state leaders. Why don't you take this one next?
I love our state leaders now. I'm just Look, the forefathers who designed our charter were very wise in making sure that this race, that this position was nonpartisan, because they knew that partisanship divides. And any of you who have heard me as I go around, I talk about making this a nonpartisan situation. We have to check our partisanship at the door. We have to learn to get along, not only amongst ourselves, but with our county, our state, and our federal government. You know, there are other cities competing for federal and state funds. You know, the mayors of Dallas, Austin, and Houston, they've all worked at the Capitol like me. They have the relationships, and they're over there fighting for money that could be ours. So being able to have those relationships with our governor, being respectful, but at the same time, I'm gonna go fight for San Antonians. I'm gonna go protect San Antonians. I think it's a good thing that I would be able to get an audience with our governor and whoever else in presenting a case for San Antonians, because all the other mayors around the state are doing the same thing, and they're Democrats, and they get along with him. We've got to be able to get along. We have to stop fighting not only amongst ourselves, but also with our leaders. They hold the purse strings. You know, irrespective of what you think of Ted Cruz, he controls one of the most powerful Senate committees in the country. He can bring a lot of funds our way, and so I believe that we should get along, irrespective of our differences. Thank you.
Mr. Perry, do you have a different take on this?
I couldn't have said it better myself there, Rolando. No, I agree. You know, this city, for whatever reason, well, I know some of the reasons, likes to poke the state in the eye, right? And this isn't the first time. We've done it over and over. And guess who wins every time? The state. They win. They will win this one. I guarantee it. But it is about relationships and how you get along with at the state level and at the federal level. Look, we all know all of our legislators here in this San Antonio area. And we need to work with them more closely to make sure that what San Antonio wants, that they are going to be going to Austin and wanting, or up to DC. That communication really hasn't existed in the past. I'm going to make that happen by having those roundtables before these legislative sessions get started up at the state, to make sure that we're all on the same page, or at least we understand each other instead of fighting with each other. That's correct. It's about relationships, who gets along, and who gets the lion's share of the dollars coming from the state or federal government. So let's work together with everybody involved and work for a common cause, which is you in San Antonio. Thank you.
Mr. Altamirano, as a local digital newsroom, we have access to Google search data that refers people to our coverage, and the most common question that people are asking about you is he a Republican or a Democrat? Since this is a nonpartisan race, we're not going to ask you that tonight, but we are interested to hear your approach to working with state and federal leaders.
Yeah, I'm pro San Antonio. That's what I am. Look, I care about the local issues. I really do. And maybe that's why people have the confusion whether I'm a Democrat or Republican. At the end of the day, I'm fighting for the issues that are impacting our city every day. When you look at my campaign platform, I'm focusing on 3 issues: infrastructure, economic development, and public safety. When we talk about working with the state and working with the federal government, look, San Antonio is going to grow to 4 million people in the next 15 years. And it's going to be 8.5 million people between San Antonio to Austin. San Antonio has to be collaborative with other cities. That's why I'm calling for the creation of the Austin-San Antonio Economic Alliance, or the South Texas Triangle Economic Alliance. We got to think big to bring more money to San Antonio, more opportunity to San Antonio. Now, when it comes to standing up for what is right and the values that represent San Antonio's, I will do that. I will do that. I'll be collaborative with the governor and the federal government, but I'm not going to be beholden to the governor. And that's what I intend to do since day one. Bring opportunity to San Antonio and defend the autonomy and the independence of this city.
Okay, Ms. Ortiz-Jones, people who visit our website are also very curious about you. I don't think that they are at all confused about what political affiliation you have after 2 congressional races, but they are very curious about how you would approach a nonpartisan role, so why don't you take this one next?
Yeah, well, look, nonpartisan doesn't mean no principles, right? And at the end of the day, this is about results. I'm proud of my career in public service, which has largely been apolitical and about, frankly, my oath to the Constitution. When I think about the opportunities that we have, we will, look, Governor Abbott, you and I, we will be fast friends on the Economic Development Bank Fund, right? That fund that he's got to bring corporations here to Texas, we'll be fast friends on that. San Antonio is the 21st largest manufacturing exporting region in the country. So South Texas Business Partnership, San Antonio Manufacturing Association, chambers, help us let's get a plan together to go from 21 to 17 to 15 to 14. That doesn't just happen overnight, right? So it's really about making sure we're competitive today, competitive in the future by making sure we're investing in the pipeline of talent. Of course, that'll also require us collaborating with the state when it comes to TxDOT. I think it's also important, though, when we look at the challenges in our community, what is constraining our economic development is, for example, some of these attacks on reproductive health care, right? 2022 was the first year our state saw an increase in teenage pregnancy in our state. It was due to the abortion bans. Who's driving that? Young Latinas, right? We're seeing a doubling of increase in sepsis in our community as well. So these laws, these attacks, they are causing OBGYNs, for example. They don't want to train here. They don't want to come here. Okay, we're not going to Project Marvel our way out of that. So let's talk economic development, but let's also make sure we've got safe, healthy folks, and that requires a balanced conversation, which I look forward to having.
Mr. Pelaez, we'll go to you next. You played a starring role in some of these fights with the state in the past, but most recently on the Abortion Travel Fund, you said this was a losing legal fight. Give us your current perspective on when it is still appropriate to take on state leaders and how you would go about it.
Hey, I'm pro-choice. My family and I have donated money to Planned Parenthood for many, many years. We've volunteered with different organizations who support what we believe in, which is the right of a woman to choose, right? I think it's heartbreaking that in Texas, fellas like Ken Paxton wake up every day and say, how can I hurt somebody vulnerable today, right? And then he does that thing. The problem is that there is a way to fight and a way to win, right? And I think that Pyrrhic victories and kamikaze missions are not always the smartest way to go. What I predicted on the dais was that in exchange for $100,000, we were buying a lawsuit that we were going to lose, and holy war. The way to fight what is happening in Texas is not with a $100,000 theatrical vote for a small amount of money that will never be spent, ever. Instead, it'll go to very wealthy litigators to defend us, and we'll hit the $1 million mark very, very quickly in defense fees. That $1 million, can you imagine what we could use that for at the Rape Crisis Center, at Haven for Hope, at all the other nonprofits that are saving lives? Now, I get it, and Rolando wants us to put our partisanship, check it at the door. Which door? The door of the Rape Crisis Center, the door of Endeavors that was just defunded, the door of the food bank that just lost millions of dollars to feed poor people, right? At what cost? Our soul? Are we gonna get along? By the way, I've never heard Ken Paxton, when Biden was in the House, telling everybody to get along.
Ms. Rocha Garcia, you went to D.C. for President Donald Trump's inauguration and said afterwards that, quote, working with the new administration is critical for San Antonio. That was a few months ago, so we're eager to hear about your latest thoughts on working with state and federal leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I give everybody a second chance. But we start off by the fact that the reason that I was invited was because I'm the president of Women in Municipal Government. I was voted on that by women mayors and women council members from all over the United States. I'm only the second Texan to lead that organization in its history. The first Texan to lead was 48 years ago, and it was a woman by the name of Lila Cockrell, who was mayor of San Antonio. I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. During that time, I have been invited to the White House 4 times. One of those times was critical because it was World AIDS Day. The continuous fight that we need to have for healthcare is critical. It has to be something that is nonpartisan. We are fighting for the same people all across the United States. I represent constituents that people represent in DC, that people represent in Texas, and it's critical to work with them. One of the things that we are very good at here in Texas is working on economic development deals. We are proud of that because that's one thing that we can all agree on in Texas, is that the economy needs to keep going. Why not have San Antonio partner with Texas? Why not have San Antonio talk about the great things, the great opportunities that San Antonians have to help the federal economy? There's this important time coming now where nearshoring is at focus. Why not position ourselves as the city that can work across party lines to make sure that our residents are successful?
Mr. Courage, bring us home on this one.
I think that what we need to do is understand that Austin doesn't want us to get along. They want us to follow along. And I don't think that's what the people in this community expect. They expect us to lead, or they expect us to be advocates for this community in Austin and in Washington. You know, when you look at what we get from Austin, let's look at what we don't get. We don't get money for public education. It's killing the community. It's killing this state. We don't have money for health care because they refuse to accept Medicaid money in the billions of dollars from the federal government. We don't see support for children because the Child Protective Services in this state doesn't function. You know, so what should we be looking for in the way of supporting Austin? They've written laws, 2127 a couple of years ago, that has 9 categories to limit the effectiveness and the efficiency of city government. You know, that is not the kind of relationship that we just stand there and follow. So we need to be prepared to defend this community in what comes down the line from Washington or Austin. And I think that means we need to look to ourselves, and we need to be prepared to help each other and support one another. This is a vibrant community. The business is not going to go away. The jobs are not going to go away. We just need to combine our efforts and support each other.
Thank you all so much for your thoughtful answers on that one. Our next question. San Antonio voters say consistently in polls that reducing crime is a top priority. And each of you on this stage has also said that addressing crime is among your personal top priorities, but we know that that means different things to different people. Just look at the city council's many heated debates about how San Antonio should fairly and effectively police its citizens, including the homeless population and the mentally ill. Given the opportunity to address crime through the city budget, where would you start? Starting with Mr. Altamirano.
Yeah, so public safety is my number one priority. We have to ensure that we have a safe San Antonio, where our children and grandchildren want to choose this city, they want to stay here, and make a beautiful life for themselves. So I'm prioritizing community-oriented policing, which is safe officers, understand the root cause of what is happening in neighborhoods, a better relationship between neighborhood leaders and SAPD officers. We need to expand that program. I also want to prioritize hotspot policing, which is problem-oriented policing. I want to hire more criminologists with a data science background to understand what crime is happening in San Antonio. But one of the things that I really want to see in our community is mental health units out there in the city of San Antonio. A lot of people are suffering crisis when it comes to mental health, and we got to ensure that we have the right healthcare, the mental health units out there providing that service and supporting San Antonians. And let's not forget also animal care services, which is a big one in San Antonio when we talk about animal care, when we talk about public safety. And that includes expanding spay and neuter, hire more vets and more ACS officers.
Ms. Cabello-Haverda. You want to take that one next?
So I'm really thankful that I chair our Public Safety Committee. I have since I got elected, and I will say that I'm grateful to that committee because we actually already implemented mental health units. They're called SA core teams. And we did that at the beginning with some COVID dollars. When you have a mental health condition or a loved one or somebody down the street has a mental health episode and you call 911, the dispatcher can figure out if you have the mental health, and they will send out the SA core team. So it's not a gun and a badge at the door, it's social workers. It's people who are gonna talk to the individual, de-escalate, not only handle the situation that evening, but then even follow up later to make sure that they're in treatment, they're following up with their treatment. It's a real care service. So I'm really thankful that we implemented that a few years. It started with COVID dollars, and now we have 3 teams that are around the clock, and we'll continue to grow that program. Safe officers really are our neighborhood, kind of what we all think of as our neighborhood friendly neighborhood officer. They know the neighborhoods, they know our senior citizens, they know kind of the kids in the neighborhood, and they're very, very good at policing, community policing. And we've grown that program every single year. I also think we have to talk about police officers, having enough police officers, and them having the equipment that they need. A few years ago, we helped fund, it's called the Shoot No Shoot screen, and it's the most realistic interaction that a trainee, a police officer trainee will be in unless they're on the streets of San Antonio. And that all helps with de-escalation training. It helps to understand how they're dealing with the person that they're, the suspect. So all of that stuff has been implemented. We're growing it. I also think we should talk about lighting when it comes to public safety. Thank you.
Mr. Courage, you want to take that one next?
Thank you. You know, public safety is the first and foremost responsibility of every municipal government. And I think all of us up here recognize that. So anyone who gets up here is going to say, yeah, more police, I'm for public safety. Well, I've been on a council that has done something about this. My first 4 years in the council, we increased the size of the police department by 200. It wasn't enough. So 3 years ago, we voted to improve the police department by an additional 15%. That's 350 officers that are going through training last year, this year, next year, until we reach that number. You know, it surprises me. I don't know where some of the candidates have been over the previous few years, because if they had been listening, they would know that the city is already doing a lot of these things you hear about. Now, if they ran for council and served for a couple of years, they could contribute to that. They could help make it better, make modifications or improvements. But you don't get an engineering degree and go to GM and say, I want to work for you, but I want the job of the CEO. You've got to learn what's going on and be part of the solution instead of standing on the outside and saying all these problems that you're going to come in and fix. We're working on adding more safe officers. We're doing more with ACS. We're adding many facilities. You know, so many other things you've heard the new people say, they just don't know what they're talking about.
Ms. Ortiz-Jones, you want to take this one next?
I come at public safety a little bit different, just given my background, having led 600,000 folks and managed a $173 billion budget, and that's from the standpoint of readiness. So the conversations that I've had both with the fire and the police union, very important. I mean, when I hear the story of a fire, a pickup truck responding to something that a fire truck should have responded to. Also the challenges, for example, that our fire personnel face in keeping people here just because the hours are so long and our pay is not as competitive as it is with other places. It's really important, I would argue, that we look at, again, the readiness, so the training, the capacity, are folks able to respond to things? This is exactly what I did as the Undersecretary of the Air Force to make sure we were ready for those things. Los Angeles has shown what happens when you make assumptions about your ability to respond to things, and then truly people going unserved, and then the higher costs as a result of not being ready. So I would first want to understand what is our readiness level, and why are the narratives between certainly the unions and some of the city staff reports so different. I think when we also think about public safety, though, again, we have to understand those things that are at the root of this, and much of this is around prevention. A lot of this is really around also economic insecurity. I'm very concerned that we will see an increase in petty crime, an increase in domestic violence. We already have one of the highest rates of domestic violence in our state, and really, as our city is not receiving the resources, it's also unfortunate that many of our key partners in the community will not have the resources. So, I look forward to bringing my leadership, having led through some of these things, but then also making sure that our federal delegation, as well as our state delegation, are really telling the same story about the impacts to our community.
Mr. Pablos, take this one next.
Last week I met with about 50 convenience store owners, and none of them had anything good to say about our public safety service that we provide. And it worries me to hear that we've already been doing these things and we're just obviously not getting the results that we need. Look, it's obvious that we need to do all these great things, but how are we going to pay for all this? We need to focus on how is it that we're going to fund this. And the first place I start is taking a look at the actual department. Is it being run properly? Are there any efficiencies we can find? Is there anything that we can do to save money and shift that money to the other issues that we need to cover? Now, what I want out of all of this is I want to make sure that everybody feels safe and is safe. Last summer, we lost 4 tourists murdered downtown. There's a long list of things that are happening in the city, and we're a big city with big city problems, but we can't be playing catch up. We have to be able to address this issue once and for all. We can't be listening to everybody saying all the great things they're going to do or that they've done, and yet the results are there. They're evident. So for me, it's very important that we address how we're going to pay for this and whether this department is being run in an efficient manner or not, and then start from there. But when people feel unsafe or they experience crime themselves, well, you can't help but wonder what's going on.
Mr. Pelaez, why don't you take this next?
Rolando and I lived in El Paso when we were kids, and El Paso in the late 80s, early 90s was a very dangerous place to live in until they as a community decided we are going to become the safest city in the United States. And they didn't rest until they became that. And I think that El Paso is one of the most beautiful examples of setting a goal and not letting anybody distract you from reaching that goal. I think we can do that here too. Now, it's going to require a lot more cops. Where criminals commit crimes? Where the cops are not. Number 2, it's going to require, and I'm sad to say this, I don't know why it's broken, but it's going to require reforms at the Bexar County Courthouse. We got judges who let murderers out on very, very low bail, right? And then they go out and guess what they do? They murder again. And everybody says, gosh, we never would have thought that could happen. We got district attorneys who don't ask for the high bonds that we as taxpayers expect be imposed. And it puts us at risk. I think the next mayor needs to go and kick down the door over the DA's office and at the judges and say, stop it, cut it out. I'll tell you, I'm a victim of crime. I know, Rolando, you had your car stolen recently, and I know many of you, in District 9, John, but I know that many of you are victims of
Mr. Pelaez, you're about out of time.
And we deserve better than what we've been getting. But I'll tell you right now, there is no more group of consummate professionals out there
you're out of time.
than SAPD.
Mr. Perry, will you take this one next?
Okay, let me clear my thoughts here. Yes, I was in District 10, and let me tell you, I was on council, and John is correct. But I was the one that was pushing for those 200 additional police officers. It took me 3 terms to do that, but we got it on. But at the end of my 3rd term, I was saying, well, how many policemen do we really need here in San Antonio? We got that number, but how many do we really need? Well, everybody kind of looked around and said, well, I don't know. That's just a number. We just keep building on it. No, that's not the right answer. So they actually did a study and found that we need 350 additional police officers here in San Antonio. And that was back in 2022. We still have a big shortage. We haven't filled that yet. I don't understand why it's taken us 3 to 5 years to fill that. It's because we do have the resources here, and that's our #1 priority, and we're not filling them. So when I get to be mayor, they are going to be filled. They are going to be funded and filled and get them all on the street to get into the neighborhoods to become more proactive, because what's happening now, they're reactive. They're just responding to crimes after they've been committed. We got to get them into patrolling into the neighborhoods and get more patrols to keep the bad guys out and be proactive. Thank you.
Ms. Richard Garcia, you're the last one on this one. Given the opportunity to address crime to the city budget, where would you start?
I would start with the upstream, and I feel that we don't do enough to focus on mental health. And I feel that a lot of the crime that is committed stems from the lack of investment in mental health. One of the saddest things that I have learned during my career as a District 4 councilwoman was that a mom chased her little girl around an apartment complex and stabbed her to death. The other thing that happened in District 4 that made me realize that we need a lot of focus on mental health was the fact that there was a woman that was shot to death by SAPD because she was holding a candlestick. She was aggressive and things unfolded. But the point being that we need to focus on mental health. At the upstream, we should be focusing on things that will prevent tragedies from continuing to happen. Yes, we absolutely have to put some additional police officers in the areas. We continue to grow as a city. We need more substations. We need staffing for those substations. We need additional safe officers. We need to bring back the communities on patrol. I felt very comfortable when I would see that my neighbors were driving around and protecting us. But it really takes that investment in upstream services and coming together and realizing that San Antonio, although we want to say that it's a safe city, some of us don't feel safe. I was mugged downtown once, and I think actually all of my male colleagues have walked me to my car at one point or another because I felt unsafe. We need to make sure that everyone feels safe in San Antonio.
All right, we are going to speed
Andrew,
things.
I want to say something. Because,
I'm sorry.
No, Courage, he was addressing me when he said the thing about, you have to be a GM.
I'm sorry, unless it's a name check, we're not going to go backwards on that one.
He's ran for Congress 11 times already.
We are headed into a lightning round here. We're going to speed things up. It's going to get more exciting. Don't worry, there's more opportunities ahead. We are going to ask a series of quick questions that require short answers, and each candidate will have 30 seconds to elaborate. So we're going to go across the stage on this one, back and forth. And the first words out of your mouth need to be a direct answer to the question, and then you don't have to elaborate at all, but if you want to, you have 30 seconds. So we'll get started with a lightning round. Many San Antonians have expressed concern about plans for a $4 billion downtown entertainment district known as Project Marvel, and would need to hear a clear vision from city leadership before they would support it. Realistically, you'd be sworn in on June 15th, and the wheels need to be in motion weeks later for revenue measures to appear on the November ballot. Do you plan to be a champion of Project Marvel? Yes, no? And if you want to elaborate, keep it under 30 seconds. Let's start with Mr. Altamirano.
Yes, but I'm not going to use public funds, no general funds. And I want to make sure that we have public involvement, that we address what is happening on the east side of San Antonio, that we have an economic plan for the east side of San Antonio. I also want to make sure that the Spurs and the private sector invest in this project. It is exciting, but we have to move slow, not too fast, and break things. And finally, I will say this: we need housing. We need affordable housing around this project if we're going to make it happen.
Mr. Courage.
I support Project Marvel as it was originally presented to the council, a way of improving the convention center, the Alamo Dome, Hemisphere, and I still stand by that. I think it's a good project. As far as adding a basketball arena, I think that that's still up for grabs, and my biggest concern is that I don't want us to go ahead and invest your tax dollars out of our general fund to pay for it. There are other mechanisms that are out there, including state funding. But also, we need to address two big problems first. We need to address parking and traffic, because if we don't address those, we're never going to get those stadiums.
This is a lightning round. These should be very brief answers. I'm going to ask the question one more time. Do you plan to be a champion of Project Marvel? Yes, no. If you want to elaborate, keep it under 30 seconds. Mr. Pablos.
Taxpayers come first.
Mr. Pelias.
I'm going to be a champion of neighborhoods. If this stadium doesn't benefit every neighborhood in San Antonio, then I'm not going to support it. If this stadium doesn't benefit schools and childcare and learning, I'm not going to support it, which is why I've already announced this does not get my vote. I will not be a champion of anything if 10% of the revenue from this project doesn't go to more police officers and more safety and more equipment for firefighters, and number two, more money for school safety, teachers, pre-K for SA, and childcare. And let the Spurs build their own damn stadium.
Ms. Ortiz-Jones.
I think the three most important questions any leader can ask: why not, and where's the data? I'm not saying there's no deal, but we need to look at how much it's going to cost, who's going to pay, and what is the benefit to the community. These are some basic questions that we don't have answers to, and I look forward to being a champion for those answers.
We are looking for very short answers to these with yes, no's, one-word answers, and a slight elaboration. Councilwoman Melissa Cabrera-Havada.
I'll say yes if this is led by community. We have to slow this way, way down. This should have started years ago, months ago, with actual community, especially those ones on the east side and downtown that will be affected. We have to have a displacement plan. We have to have a plan for, obviously, for financing. And I asked the Spurs, a lot of us have talked about the Spurs putting in at least 50% of the cost of the arena. And that's where we start. That's where the negotiations start. Thank you.
Mr. Perry.
I'm not for using public funds at all. We need to reinvest in San Antonio and downtown also, but we can't be doing it at the expense of the taxpayer here in San Antonio. Our debt is way, way, way too much, and we need to work on that first before we start looking at other ways to spend your tax dollars and go further into debt. So, no, I do not support.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes, but we have to find a creative way to finance it that involves public and private, as well as Spurs pitching in a little bit more and making sure that our neighborhoods are not displaced and that there is a plan to address their needs for housing, education, and healthcare.
After hearing these responses, I feel a little concerned that you guys are going to have an answer in mind within the weeks after you take this job. But next question. There are many people in this city who are concerned that San Antonio is missing out on growth, with too many companies choosing to locate elsewhere. There are also many San Antonians who look to Austin and worry that economic development will price long-term residents out of living here. Is San Antonio missing too many opportunities, or is it a well-kept secret? Let's start with Ms. Rocha Garcia.
Sorry.
Is San Antonio missing too many opportunities, or is it a well-kept secret?
I think that we're a kept secret, and we can no longer be a well-kept secret. We have JCB that just relocated, and we have different opportunities that we can engage with the nearshoring concept that we have.
Mr. Perry.
We're missing too many opportunities. We need a cheerleader. We need a mayor that can go out and look them across the table and say, this is why you need to come to San Antonio. Be a cheerleader to bring in those fantastic companies that we're missing out on. So, yeah, we're missing out on way too many.
I believe that we're missing out on opportunities, but I will say that if we take care of our small businesses here, those big companies will see how well we're doing and they'll be attracted. We do have to go out. We have to go to different countries. We have to go to different cities and attract these businesses. They love San Antonio. We the people of San Antonio, are really what attract those businesses. But we have to take care of the small businesses here, make sure they're successful, make sure our streets, our drainage, our roads are taken care of, because they want to come and move into a beautiful city. So those are our priorities. Thank you.
Sortisha.
We're both, right? I think we're missing out on opportunities and we are a well-kept secret. I think it's important, again, that's why we have a plan to figure out how do we bring more businesses here and make sure we're addressing the long-standing inequities in our community at the exact same time.
Mr. Pelias.
Anybody who tells you that we are missing out on economic development has no idea what they're talking about or is trying to misinform you. Over the past few years, while I've been the chairman of economic development, we've created 6,700 super high-paying jobs in the city, $6.6 billion in capital expenditures. And it's not just JCB, and it's not just Toyota, but it includes Navistar, Ernst & Young, Tiger Biosciences, GE, all the businesses that we're bringing to Brooks, the port. Even in my district, we finally have an electric battery manufacturer. Guys, we are doing it. And all the people on this stage, I'm the only one that's actually brought and built these projects to San Antonio.
Mr. Pablos?
It was Governor Abbott that brought all those, by the way. I travel the world selling Texas. I know how to sell Texas. I know how to sell San Antonio. And Clayton's right, you need somebody to get out there and be a cheerleader. And I've already done it, and I'll do it for San Antonio.
Mr. Courage?
I won't take a back seat to anybody else. I've traveled with the mayor to 7 different cities, 5 different countries, and every place we went, we were advocating for businesses to come to San Antonio, to share what they have or to learn from us. But until we have a well-educated workforce, until, as we've just done, had the connection to get to Washington, New York, Boston, Chicago out of our airport, until we can convince those that those companies, those benefits are here for them, it's going to be a challenge. But we can do it.
Mr. Altamirano?
They can all talk about that, but I actually built my company from scratch here in San Antonio and scaled it to almost 100 employees. I know what it takes. But it takes investing in our infrastructure before we're selling the story of San Antonio, making sure that we have the right infrastructure. And we also have to train our people, our workforce. We have to educate them for the modern jobs ahead of us. That includes cybersecurity, bioscience, advanced manufacturing, air and space. Those are the jobs of the future, and we have to invest in our people first.
All right, we're going to come back down the other way this time. Mayor Phil Hardberger was the parks guy. Mayor Julian Castro brought us the decade of downtown. Ron Nirenberg was the housing champion. In 1 or 2 words, what will be the prevailing theme of your 4 or 8 years as mayor?
Moving forward together.
I think I'm going to be fighting poverty, creating more housing for people, and making sure that we're providing the health care for them.
Decade of small business.
Ferocity in everything we do, ferocity in our compassion, in our love for one another, ferocity in our love for the city, ferocity when we go advocate for ourselves and our character and what makes us special in DC and Austin, and betting on ourselves so that one day one of your kids will want to be up on this stage as opposed to wanting to move to Austin or move to Dallas or Houston because the opportunities there are better. I have so much optimism and I'm so in love with you guys. I think that we are better than any other city, and that's it. Mine will be a campaign and an administration of ferocious love for you.
Investing in those things are going to set us up for long-term economic security. Smart, healthy kids, for example.
Melissa is the mayor that gave local government back to the people of San Antonio.
Giving San Antonio is what they really want, a safe city and great streets, sidewalks to travel on, and helping to reduce our tax burden here also.
Economic empowerment through education is what I would like to be remembered for.
Okay. Thank you all so much for your thoughtful answers to these questions. Let's move on to our closing statements. We're going to take 1 minute and 30 seconds for each of you to give a closing statement to voters. The order was also drawn backstage, so let's start with Ms. Rocha Garcia.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you all again for being here. During my 6 years on the City Council, I have helped create, as president of San Antonio Housing Trust, more than 7,000 units of housing at every level. I'm proud of that work. We'll continue to champion housing. I've also convinced my council colleagues to bring in $600,000 worth for a seed effort for community health equity in South Texas, because we don't want something like what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic to happen ever again. When we lost a hospital on the South Side, we all rallied together. We rallied together as a compassionate city. I will continue to focus on that. Some of the most difficult times have happened during my tenure, and I'm proud to say that I have led with compassion. one of the first things that happened was that COVID landed in District 4 at Lackland Air Force Base. People were scared, people had no idea, and I came out in front with the mayor, and I led with him, and I let our people know that they would be protected. When the migrants that were found in the back of the 18-wheeler were found in that back of that trailer, I was also the one who led San Antonio and showed the compassion across the world. I didn't just start running for a higher office, for mayor. I've been leading. It's not about the office, it's about leading the people. It's about people believing in you and coming together and championing a cause. That compassionate cause was put to action most recently a couple of weeks ago when the 53 migrant crosses were knocked down. And I rallied the community together. We found donations, and the crosses were back up the next day. That's the leader you need in a mayor.
Experience and my 21 years in the Air Force, another 13 years in a large engineering construction firm, and then 6 years on city council here. That is an experience, plus the boards and commissions that I was on here in San Antonio, along with my HOA and the Northeast Neighborhood Alliance. I have been all over this city, and I have talked to many people. I know where the priorities are. I know what people want, and I've already said them tonight, but I have that experience to be able to do it. I know the bureaucracy of downtown. It's not just something you can get into and know right off the bat. You have to have worked with them to know the people and those relationships and know the processes and procedures. It's not easy. It is not easy, and you have to learn that. And I'm ready on day one for those experiences. Now, the leadership. When I was on council, I had many people coming up to me saying, Clayton, you're the only one up there that's got any common sense. And I was really, really taken aback by that. But looking at what I did on council, I understood that. But it's the common sense leadership along with the experience that will carry this city forward and in a better direction. Back when the chamber was rating councilmen who were the best for business, I was always rated #1 on the top, and I'm going to continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I'm Melissa Cabello Haverda. I can't believe nobody asked me the San Antonio question. I went to Taft High School. I mean, don't you want to know? But I've been called a lot of things in this race. I've been called unbecoming. I've been called too aggressive. I have been called bitchy. But I'll tell you, I make no apologies. Don't you want a mayor with a spine? Don't you want a mayor that's going to go out and fight for you every day? That's what I've done. That's what I'll continue to do. I have the vision. I have the plans. I have the energy. I have the experience to get this done. And not just because I'm from San Antonio, but because I am San Antonio. I'm a daughter of this city, and I've defied the odds over and over and over. I'd be honored to have your support, and I want to move San Antonio forward together with you. Thank you.
When I mentioned earlier that I had that ROTC scholarship that took me to Boston University, one of the most formative experiences I've ever had was actually before my first day of class. I had to sign a piece of paper that said I will not engage in homosexual behavior because don't ask, don't tell was the policy at the time. And I knew what that meant. My opportunity to get an education, my opportunity to serve our country, my opportunity to die for our country if need be, all that goes away just because at the time we didn't have enough leaders with the courage to say anybody ready and willing to serve their country should have the opportunity to do so. So yeah, when you fast forward 20 some odd years and I was honored to serve as the Undersecretary of the Air Force, I challenged myself to be the leader that I wish I would have had when I was that young person and that young officer. That experience also showed me when you are in charge, when you are driving the discussion, always ask, who am I not hearing from and why am I not hearing from them? So yes, I've managed a large budget, $173 billion, led 600,000 folks, but having the courage to ask these tough questions that are really going to address the things that we've been talking about here all this evening, right? It's going to take courage to ask those questions and then deliver results, which I have a record of doing. I think they're also going to require urgency, which is why I've talked about the plan that's on my website, GinaOrtizJones.com, because again, we need a city that is focused on serving all of our community, not just a select few.
This room is really special to me, guys. My wife and I came on a date here years ago to see Billy Strayhorn, just a fantastic musician, play. And then now I'm on the stage. And you know why this place is even more special is because in 1973, they've been around for 107 years, but they've only been around for that long because in 1973, the city of San Antonio was going to knock down this beautiful building. They weren't going to knock down any other theaters. They were going to knock down this one. And this community said, hey, do you mind not doing that? This is our one and only theater dedicated to black families. And the city said, no, we're going to do it anyway. And what did the swarm of people on the east side do? They chained themselves to the front doors. They put their bodies in the way of bulldozers. So I want to tell you, a mayor is a person who relies on the swarm of good people wanting to march in the same direction to accomplish the things I want to accomplish. The safest, the smartest, the strongest, most compassionate city in America. Now, I will tell you, I love these people up here on this stage too. They're fantastic. And I'm friends with all of them. I admire them very much. I'm way better. But no. But the reality is that one person on his own is flawed, right? And in the history of humanity, there's only been one perfect human being that has ever walked the surface of this earth. And that's my mother-in-law. And I'm trying to make her proud, guys. I really am. Thanks for sitting through all this, and I respectfully ask for your vote. Thanks.
So this May, we have a choice to make. We can continue to do the same thing over and over again, or we can try something new. We can take a new approach. And I'm for taking a new approach. I'm for taking an approach that is inclusive. We need a mayor who will bring council together, who will help set a vision and execute on it. The mayor's supposed to be acting in a supporting role to each council person and helping them achieve their objectives for their districts, and that's what I will do. I will also leverage my relationships, not only in government, but in the private sector, to be able to attract the investment we need to be able to grow our economy so we can have good paying jobs here, so we can lift our economy, so that we all don't get taxed to death. We share that tax burden by expanding the tax base. And that's what I want to do. I would like to see change at City Hall for the better. Thank you.
I have to agree with my friend, Councilman Perry and Ms. Jones. You know, it does take common sense and uncommon courage to be the next mayor of San Antonio. And I really want all of you to think very closely about the people you've seen up here and recognize the difference between those who understand how city government works and can make it better as opposed to those who don't understand and are going to get in there and try and feel their way through for a year, year and a half. We don't need that kind of leadership. I've served on this council for 8 years, and I have introduced a tax deduction program for child care centers because we need more affordable daycare. I've introduced participatory budgeting in District 9, a program where the people in my district voted on how to spend $4 million of their tax dollars. I'm the only council member willing to get guns off the streets. I've sponsored 2 voluntary weapons exchange programs that have taken 1,500 guns out of the streets in the city. I've supported a new program called Safe Baby Devices, which are going to be put into 10 fire stations around the city so that no more babies will be dumped in the street or in a dumpster. And next week, on Wednesday the 16th, you're going to hear about a new program I'm introducing that will save $10 million in medical debt to thousands of families in this city. And I've done that without the city's support. I've done it because it's the right thing to do, and I'll do that as your next mayor.
When I was 17, my father was deported. And that impacted my life in many ways. But it also got me interested in how the laws, the policies, can impact our everyday lives. And it takes all of us to get involved. It's not just going to be a few people at City Hall defining the future of our city. It's going to take the people of San Antonio to define the future of our city. That's why last summer when I announced my candidacy, I went to the people to design my policy framework, Plan 210, which you can learn more at plan210.com, focusing on infrastructure, economic development, and public safety. And when I spoke about public safety, I spoke about expanding several efforts like SAFE. And my colleague over here said, we are already doing that. No, it's not about conformity. Conformity is not going to take us to the next level as a city. It's about improving ourselves, challenging our elected officials to see if we can impress ourselves as a city, to see if we can move the needle forward, because San Antonians deserve the very best. Look, at this stage in my life, I know what I'm good at. I'm a good executive. I put teams together. I go after the right projects, and we get things done. And I want to get things done for all of you at City Hall. I ask for your vote, and I ask for your support. Thank you, San Antonio.
Thank you, candidates on the stage, so much for being here tonight, and thank all of you in the audience. Your commitment to civic engagement is what inspires us at the San Antonio Report. This is undoubtedly a really confusing, messy 27-candidate race, and it has been an interesting race to cover, and it has been an exciting experience to dig into it with you all here tonight. Election day is May 3rd. Do not wait until then to vote. There's a lot going on in this city on May 3rd, from the King William Fair to the Fiesta Flambeau Parade. Take advantage of early voting, which runs April 22nd through April 29th, and make your voice heard. I'd like to invite the San Antonio Report publisher, Angie Mock, up on the stage for some closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Candidates, thank you all so much for being with us, and of course a special shout out to our very own government and politics reporter, Andrea Drush. Thank you. We appreciate our sponsors, Leadership San Antonio Alumni Association. Good job, guys. And Black Tie Affairs Catering and Norma Denham and Associates. The San Antonio Report and the Greater San Antonio Chamber are so delighted you guys came here, because at the core of our mission is civic engagement. And all of you that are in this room obviously care about democracy. Thank you for caring about democracy. And if you care about democracy, you should also care about a free press. The San Antonio Report is an independent, nonprofit, local news organization, and we are dedicated to covering issues and the news that really matters in San Antonio. And our daily news and events like this and many other events are free to the public to attend, but trust me, they are not free to produce. So I want to ask you all, please, do two things. Consider doing two things. Go to sanantonio.report.org and sign up for one of our newsletters if you currently don't receive our newsletters. I think everyone in this room would especially like Andrea's Bexar County Ballot weekly newsletter. So sign up for that. And if you can, please consider supporting our work, because community news does not exist without community support. No matter, I know you've heard this before, no gift is too small, and it really is true. A small donation to become a member really helps us to continue to do this important work. Thank you all for being here. Have a safe evening and travel home. And candidates, if you'll stay up for a quick photo. Thank you all.